July, covering all things professional wrestling. A show by members of the Busted Open Nation. Welcome to the Nation's Corner. Here are your hosts, the Nation's Corner crew.
What is happening, Nation's Corner family? I am your host, Tony Justice, and welcome to Nation's Corner, where we have a pay-per-view coming up tonight, ladies and gentlemen, called AEW Wrestledream. And here to talk about it is my cast of characters for the night. First, we have the one, the only, the great, and the powerful Debhausen. How you doing, Deb?
I'm doing great. It's Saturday night. I'm ready to talk some wrestling.
Well, that's what we're here for, right? Wrestling and whatever.
RSSLAN?
That's wrestling. Yes.
Okay.
And the other guy, he is someone you don't want to cross in a dark alley, ladies and gentlemen.
No, you do not.
It's the one, the only, John in South Jersey. How's it going, brother?
And wants to know? Huh? Questions already. 2 minutes into the show. Questions. Don't worry about it. How's that?
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Don't worry about it.
I'm good. Always good to be here with you guys. And like Deb said, talk a little RASSLAN. Wrestling.
Yep,
Yeah.
we got a lot of people in the chat already. RJ, John Bay, Guitar Red, David Mitchell. We haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah. What's up, man?
All the way out in Kansas.
Hell
You
yeah.
know, I want to say something before we get started. A lot of these people in this live chat right here helped us the other day. What day was that? Monday or Tuesday when Busted Open 24/7 was trending number 3. It got up to number 3. And we were all retweeting like crazy that day. I mean, everything I saw, I was just retweeting, retweet.
Yep, make it trending.
So, yeah, thanks to everyone. I mean, when we're in full force, we can accomplish anything. And the only reason I will go on record and say the only reason we didn't trend number 1 is because we had a little thing called Hurricane Milton running around. So all that coverage. I mean, there's no way we could have gotten ahead of that. But
Upstaged by Jim Cantori, damn him.
Yeah.
Right.
And there was something going on with some government thing that was trending as well.
Yeah, there's always some political BS that's trending, and because that's so national, that's hard to overtake.
Right. But number 3, you can hang your hat on that, folks. Number 3 is a good accomplishment. So cheers. I know Dave especially appreciates that. Dave is over the moon about that. So thanks to everyone out there for jumping on and trying to get to number 1. But when they announce Busted Open 24/7, because I think it's going to happen pretty soon.
Eddie said we're in the red zone.
Yeah, we're in the red zone. So you know what happens, and I don't want to hear no Cowboys jokes, but you know what happens in the red zone?
They
usually score a touchdown.
No,
not if you're the Cowboys.
No, they don't.
Shut up.
God, I cannot bite my lip any harder.
I don't want Neil to be mad at me.
So anything anyway. So before we get into wrestling talk, Deb, anything interesting you did this week?
Anything interesting that I did this week?
You were Seth. You had a campfire, didn't you? Y'all went to a campfire.
Oh, that was last week. The reason why I talked about it a little bit because we did the show on Sunday last weekend instead of Saturday. So I talked a little bit about it on Sunday.
Okay.
We had a campfire with some of my family up in the Poconos at a campground nearby my grandparents' house. So it was fun.
Yeah.
Other than that, during the week, I'd work.
Did you do some s'mores? Did you do some s'mores? I
did not. There were s'mores, but I did not. I had a hot dog.
Did you have s'mores flavored booze?
I did not.
Oh.
Hey, I wouldn't put that past that moonshine company to have a s'mores.
I'm sure they do. Dude, they have pickles.
I'm pretty sure there is one at the moonshine company that we that has a stand at the Allentown Farmers Market here. I think they do have a s'mores one. I think they do.
Yes,
this is an apple cider drink made with Jim Beam apple and Fireball.
Okay. Cinnamon and apple. Nice. Okay.
Yeah. See, this is my fall drink. Those people that like that pumpkin spice latte bullshit. This is my fall drink. Apples and cinnamon. Perfect.
Deb, everybody is entitled to their own opinion. They happen to be wrong, but they're still entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah. So, John, did you do anything interesting besides want to throw an eraser at some students this week in your class?
No, we don't throw erasers. We throw ball peen hammers.
Okay. You
better watch out. Don't make John mad. He'll throw a hammer at you.
Yeah. Well, my hammer's over there, so
I keep a drawer full of 16-ounce ball peen hammers for those who become unruly in my class. I'm building the future craftsman of America, sir. I take it very seriously. But I didn't really do anything interesting. But since you don't want to talk about it, I will. Ladies and gentlemen, members of Nation's Corner, we have an announcement.
Uh-oh.
Do we?
We do. One Mr. Tony Justice has been set free to roam once again. He threw off the shackles of his mundane 9 to 5 day a week driving job. Justice is loose, ladies and gentlemen. Back across the highways of America. Tony Justice has relocated to his new home, or driving home, I should say, of Minnesota, and is back to work. So be on the lookout, folks. You never know where Justice may roam to next.
I like that, John. I appreciate that.
I like that.
I left my job that I was working at. I was getting to be home a lot more. I built my barn dominium here. But something in me was just not adjusting to being home a lot. And plus there was some stuff going on that I won't get into at work. And so my previous company came calling and saying, "We need Tony Justice back here. We miss you. We need you back home."
They courted you.
They did.
Let's be real. They courted you.
They did. And
like old school style.
Yeah. And so I'm basically went back home. That's the way I feel. I went back home. I flew out Sunday. I did the show last week's show. No, I didn't. I didn't do last week's show because I was in the air because I was traveling. So, but yeah, I started back Monday. I'm back in my truck and I'm out there getting stuff in it. But right before I come in the show, I was out there doing stuff in the truck. So yes, I'm back on the road. I'll be able to start going to more wrestling events and stuff, hooking up with my crew, where we will pillage and do all the stuff that we do when we go to these things.
I'm glad you didn't say the other word that's in that phrase.
And another announcement, Mongrovian Mike is Nation's Corner live on location. And he's in the live chat. He's going to get some interviews tonight for us for future airing here on the show. He's at a VPW show. So
on Long Island.
Mongrovian Mike, have fun, brother, and we look forward to the stories later on.
Yeah.
Shout out to VPW. Yes, shout out to VPW. And real quick, I got this in the mail just a while ago. This is an album. It's Mad Season Above. Yes. So it's still sealed in the package. So it just came in the mail right before I came on live. So I'm excited.
Are you gonna open it to listen to it, or are you just gonna keep it sealed?
No, I'm gonna open it with a razor blade. I'm gonna keep the original shrink wrap on it, plus my vinyl. Okay. I keep it in protective cases. Right. So I'm gonna open it with a razor blade right on the right on the end here.
Yeah.
And take the album out. I'll do one of those cool little videos that I've been doing with it.
Yes.
And I've been doing that on Facebook, and those that follow me on Facebook, and that's where I do it. And TikTok. Yeah, it comes across Instagram too.
Yeah, it goes on Instagram. Yeah.
But yeah, I've been enjoying doing that. So anyway, yeah, that's getting into my music world. I'm really excited about my vinyl. I love it. So
Awesome.
But anyway, another thing that we should be excited about is AEW Wrestledream coming on in about less than an hour here.
Yes.
So Deb, where do you want to start on Wrestledream?
Well, I do want to, before we actually get into some of the matches here, I do kind of want to talk about just overall AEW recently, kind of as the build towards this show tonight has gone on. And I really feel, and there's this whole narrative about AEW that kind of circulates through social media that they don't do this or they don't do that or they don't tell stories or they don't do promos catching people up on the what's been happening, or they don't do anything to try to get new viewers. And I'm sorry to tell you people, but that's really just not the case. For people that actually watch and actually pay attention, they are doing all those things. You just have to actually watch and pay attention to see it. I find that so many people that are like kind of crapping on AEW, or they don't do this or they don't do that, aren't actually really watching. So you can't say that a show or a product is not doing certain aspects of storytelling if you're not actually watching to see that. And I've seen so many things the past couple weeks, especially. For instance, last night on Rampage, I know a lot of people don't watch Rampage, but if you did, you'd see certain elements that a lot of fans have been saying that they wanted. We saw a video package from Chris Statlander kind of talking about the events that have happened between her and Willow. So that is a perfect example right there of if someone is a new viewer or someone is tuning in for the first time in a while, there's a video package right on TV, on the TV product, not on social media that you have to go look it up and find it. A video package right there on TV to catch you up to the story, tell you what's been going on, tell you why Chris Statlander is fighting against Willow. And there's been multiple examples of that in multiple different storylines that they are doing these things. You just have to watch and pay attention to see it.
Yeah.
I don't like to watch because I don't want to just do
and I
that.
understand there's so many people that there's a lot of people that, are your daily lives are pretty busy and you just kind of keep up to date and stuff on social media. But if you're just keeping up to date on social media and you're not actually watching the show, you're not getting the full picture of what's actually happening, the production elements and the storytelling that they are actually doing on the show weekly.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, I watch every week and I have been seeing specific things that a lot of fans said that they want from AEW, specific things. It's there. But if you're not paying attention, of course you're not seeing it. Right. With WWE, Sam Roberts, says rule number 3 of Sam Roberts is everything counts. And with WWE, especially with the Bloodline storyline, we're seeing that time and time again, that you really have to pay attention to those little details to really see things. And there might be little details that happen that aren't explained for weeks or even months down the road. And that's something that the fans are loving about WWE right now. And I really think like a lot of those same types of things are being done to a certain extent in AEW, but people just aren't noticing it. So if you're saying everything counts, and if we're enjoying storylines in WWE that include stuff that we might have to wait weeks or months to kind of get the explanation on, of like, oh, now that makes sense. Oh, now I get that, why that happened. And why isn't it the same with AEW? I feel like too many people want that instant gratification. Like Mox comes out and cuts a promo that's kind of cryptic, kind of mysterious, and people are like, immediately, I need to know what this is about. I need to know what this is about. Well, just give it some time and let the story develop. I think that's one of my biggest criticisms with the criticisms of AEW is people are not actually giving it time to breathe, but they're saying that they want AEW to give time to breathe. But when they do, they're like, oh no, not like that.
Yeah. Well, on that comment, Bully has said on Busted Open many times about the biggest problem with AEW, or one of the biggest problems, is they run through storylines too fast and they don't give it time to breathe. Well, now, like you just said, they are giving things time to breathe. So maybe they are listening. They're taking some advice. Go ahead, John.
But the biggest thing is people actually have to tune in to see it.
Right.
You can't bitch about low ratings. You can't bitch about low viewership. You can't bitch about low attendance if you're actually part of the problem that's not tuning in to watch it and not tuning in to see the improvements. There are improvements, but if you're not seeing it, then I'm sorry, you don't have room to complain.
Right. Well, I think partially this is kind of AEW's fault. And while, yes, they are taking absolutely big steps in changing that, you have to remember when AEW first was started, when Cody was there, when it was Cody and the Bucks and Kenny Omega and Tony Khan, that basically as the money man behind it all. But the show was the Bucks, Cody, and Kenny. They wanted something different than what WWE was at the time, different than everyone else. So they gave you all the car crash and ooh and ah and high spot matches. They gave you the dream matches that you wouldn't normally see on television. So they kind of created their own monster, in my opinion. They trained their fans and their diehard fans that watch and tune in and consume it every week in, week out. They basically programmed, just like for years we have been programmed by WWE programming about what they, what they do and what they want us to know about. But
it's not the diehard AEW fans that are the problem. The diehard AEW fans are tuning in every week and are going to shows and spending their money. It's the casual fans or the fans that tune into AEW in the beginning and then lost interest, understandably. And now it's the trouble of trying to get those people back and trying to draw in new viewers. But all these people, I think, are still stuck in, because they haven't watched in a year or so. And I can't tell you how many people I've seen online that says they lost interest about a year or so ago and haven't watched since, but they still want to complain about what the show is now. Well, if you haven't watched, how do you know what the show is now?
Exactly. And that's what they're trying to, besides obviously taking a different creative approach or path, so to speak. Yeah, you're right. There's still that, well, it's just car crashes and blood and guts and all that. And if you want to see people bleed, tune into AEW, and it's not that. But it's not
that anymore. We're not getting massively bloody matches every single match.
Sure.
That's a misconception that people are holding on to.
Well, we haven't seen his ring entrance yet, but so far Moxley has not bled on his way to the ring yet. But I digress, and that's not really helping the situation or prove your point, Deb, because it is a very valid point. But also remember, and I hate to make these comparisons, but it's something that we're all familiar with. In the words of Paul Heyman, there was a time when WWE sucked. And it was not watchable. I couldn't get through a 3-hour Monday Night Raw because it just literally was not watchable. Mm-hmm. And slowly but surely, the tide absolutely has changed. And now that they're at this point now, can AEW do the same thing? They certainly have the talent on the roster to do so.
Yeah,
absolutely. The problem where I begin to lose faith is what's above the talent, because the talent's going to do whatever they're allowed to do or whatever they're told to do.
Yeah.
My biggest gripe has been from AEW since day one, or I should say since Cody's departure from AEW.
Right.
My gripe has always been the same. Tony Khan is not a booker. Tony Khan is a matchmaker. Tony Khan is a fan living every fan's dream, but he's not a booker. He doesn't he doesn't know enough about the nuts and bolts of running a wrestling company other than to, and God bless him, he has invested a tremendous amount of his money and his family's money into AEW to make this work. And we're starting to see fruits of that, especially if you look into the details of their new TV deal. And it's working. But again, my bottom line is you're absolutely right, Deb. But for every 5 steps I see him take forward, it's always something that comes up that knocks him 3 back.
Exactly. And that's definitely so.
And I personally am not watching Wrestledream tonight. I'm familiar with the match card, all that. But I'm sorry, at $50 for 1, maybe 2 matches that pique my interest.
Yeah.
I'm not spending it. Now, if this, if that changes with the new deal, then they might. But I still watch every Wednesday and Friday and Saturday when Collision's on. But I'm sorry, to me, that's a big turnoff because it's $50. I can see for $9 for $10 a month, I can see everything on Peacock for WWE. For $10 a month on Fight TV, I can watch everything for GCW and a ton of other indies and stuff I would be interested in. So I think that's one of the things. Hopefully, the new deal will change, but time will tell. And again, we're expecting something like, and this again, this is the internet's fault. Plain and simple. AEW is 5 years old. 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think people are expecting them to be as big and as much of a well-oiled machine that WWE is. But it took WWE how many years to develop and kind of get that experience and figure things out as they went. It took them so long to become the WWE we know today, that they're a massive global entertainment company.
Right.
And even I was having a conversation with someone on Twitter yesterday, and he asked me, who do you think that AEW could, basically have as the face of their company? Like Roman was the face of WWE for quite a few years there. And I just kind of I like to kind of take a step back and be that reminder. Like, it took Roman 10 years to become the Roman Reigns we know today. It doesn't happen overnight. And, I think people just have unrealistic expectations, and that affects a lot of, the buzz around a show. Like, for instance, with Star Wars, and it's the comparisons with Star Wars are kind of happen so often, because every Star Wars movie that comes out, you kind of have that toxic fan base that is gonna shit on it and find everything wrong with it. And a lot of it has to do with people set certain expectations, and when it's not the expectations that they blindly set for themselves, they throw a tantrum. And I read an article last week about how that toxic fandom is actually shaping Hollywood. That Hollywood, they will freely admit that the toxic fandom is a small but very vocal minority, but they are actually literally making decisions of what movies to put out and how to write stories based on, because they don't want that toxic fandom to have online backlash. We've seen in movies, that toxic fandom doesn't like a certain movie, they will bombard Rotten Tomatoes with bad reviews just so that the review number is lower. And that's a small but vocal minority. So that happens in Hollywood. It's also happening in wrestling on a smaller scale. We're seeing that a small section of toxic internet fans are really kind of shaping how things go. That, for instance, say like AEW does a lot of social media content, same as WWE, TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff to try to grab new viewers and get new people interested. WWE touts their social media numbers all the time of the engagement and the interactions they do, and that's helped them greatly grow their product, especially the last couple of years. But if someone goes and sees like an AEW video on TikTok or something, and for whatever reason it piques their interest to look them up, if they go look up the AEW social media account and scroll through the comments, and all the comments are people saying it's garbage, it's terrible, you guys don't know what you're doing, this is awful. What in the world would someone who has no idea what it is, why in the world would they watch it if all of the online conversation they see about it is that it's terrible?
Yeah. I mean, what people need to realize is, okay, AEW's been around 5 years, right? And there's not going to be, okay, every company has its peaks and valleys.
Oh,
every company.
Hold on. Chris just said this in the chat. That I believe that is part of the New Deal. That is part of the New Deal. And for those people outside of the US, they've had that. Outside of the US, AEW Plus is a part of Triller, and they've had the ability to go back and watch the entire content library from the very beginning. It's just us in the US that haven't had that. But that is part of the New Deal.
They should call the New Deal. They should call AEW's New Deal GFY Bleacher Report.
Yeah. So, as I was saying, they've been around 5 years. So every company is going to have its peaks and valleys. WWF had its peaks and valleys. You know, they were hot in the 80s. Then after Hogan Warrior, old WrestleMania 6, things started to get kind of stale. And before the Attitude Era, they were doing non-watchable TV. They were doing, I mean, I remember those days. And then WCW with the NWO, when Scott Hall came down in the crowd and jumped the guardrail and got in the ring with a microphone. At that moment is when WCW started to skyrocket, because they saw a recognizable face on WCW television. And we're like, oh crap. And I was watching it live as it happened. And so at that point, WWF was down and WCW was kind of in the 83 weeks, you know. WCW was beating WWF for 83 weeks until Vince said, all right, we got to do something. Attitude Era was born. Then WWF started to skyrocket, and then WCW kind of went down. And unfortunately, you know, we lost WCW in that down period. But it was a casualty of war. And it hurt the wrestling business, in my opinion, because there was no competition for WWF, and therefore WWE, as it was later known, started to get stale after John Cena arrived. After the Ruthless Aggression Era, it started to get kind of stale until recently. See, so now AEW's came in that low period for WWE, excuse me, and then their AEW, when we saw something new on the horizon, we're like, oh shit. And we were all here for that. All of us were here for that together, watching AEW succeed. They were doing some great stuff with All In before AEW became a thing. AEW All In, the original All In, was awesome. And so it's great to have something else as an alternative.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but with that, you're going to have people that just are toxic people. I mean, they're fans.
They want to watch the world burn. They're not happy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. They relish in, you know, the only people who actually pay attention to ratings are the ones who want to see a lower number so that they can laugh at it.
Right.
Yeah. And Chris makes a good point. ECW, and John, you should have slapped me in the face for not mentioning ECW. But ECW came in at that time when WWF was kind of stale, and ECW was doing its thing down there in South Philly. So, you know, I mean, you have ECW, but that was a cult following. You know,
we're not a cult, sir. We're not a cult, sir.
John can tell you. John was there in the trenches. He was there.
We're a very dedicated and vocal fan base. We are not a cult.
Okay, you're not the Church of Wales people. Okay, I get that. But yeah, y'all were a passionate group of fans down there, and I wish that I had the opportunity to watch ECW back in the day.
I do too.
You know, but me over here in Texas, we didn't have. And if it did, it was like at 2:00 in the morning, like Ring of Honor turned into on Sinclair.
Yeah. I was just a kid then, and I just wasn't really aware of anything. Like you know, at that age, like I knew who Rock and Stone Cold were from you know, kids wearing t-shirts in school, but I hadn't watched wrestling at that age. I certainly wasn't aware at all of ECW or ROH or TNA or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So my point being, you know, I know I went long-winded, but there's always going to be people who want to watch the world burn, like John said. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about that as you were talking, Deb. Like AEW is a campfire or whatever kind of fire, brush fire, whatever. And there are people standing around it, you know, with a beer, and they're just tossing wood in there to keep it burning. And they're just you know, they're holding their s'mores over the fire. You know, making their little s'mores.
Yeah.
I want s'mores again.
Yeah. So and then
I watch the show every week and I enjoy it. And you know, I'm vocal about what I enjoy about the show, because I think if the people who are actually fans who watch it and love it and enjoy it, if we don't talk about what is good about it, then the negativity is what takes over, and then people will only see the negativity and not see anything positive about it. So I think it's important for the fans who love it and watch it every week and enjoy what they're doing to actually be vocal about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, WWE is on a plateau right now. They're just way up there as far as popularity, and you know, we saw that live. Well, not really live, but we were there in Philly for WrestleMania 4. We saw that historic pay-per-view. I would have preferred where we were at was just fine watching it. I loved where we were at. We were at the ECW Arena as a group watching it live, and I loved it. And so, but there is going to come a time where WWE can't hold this, you know, this forever of being up. There's going to come a period where they're going to come down a little bit, and then watch the people turn on WWE at that time. Watch it. Just it's just going to happen.
It's going to be ebbs and flows, like anything else.
Because people by nature are bandwagoners. Mm-hmm. So by nature, if somebody sees everyone around them going, "Oh, that's the has-been. You got to see this stuff now," and everybody will herd mentality over to that. It's just it's human nature, and like Chris said, it's the nature of the wrestling business. Everything that's the new hot thing, that the thing that's kind of catching people's attention for the moment, then everybody's going to rush to see that and just kind of toss away the other thing that was the last hot thing. Right.
And you know, the whole controversy creates cash kind of thing. You know, the negativity, people, when there's negativity, people automatically want to stop and see what all the commotion is about. Just like a car wreck. You know, there'll be a car wreck over here on this side, this lane that's not even affected. This side of the highway is not even affected, but you got people stopping traffic, and I'm in a 5-mile backup because all they want to do is rubberneck and look at the wreck over there.
For real.
You know, so it's just, that's the way it's going to be. And there's got to be people who just enjoy wrestling, like I know we do. And I know y'all in the live chat do. We just enjoy it all, you know, and we don't surround ourselves with the toxic negative people. You know, we just don't.
No.
So, but anyway,
we don't associate. That's all. That's just, you can't sit at our table, and our table is round. So therefore, there is no head of the table. Right. We just all collectively
John,
together.
That is an amazing fucking statement you just made. That is an amazing statement you just made. It's a round
That's what
table.
I do.
So there's no.
That's what I do. Amazing statements and crab cakes.
Yeah, that is a dude. That's awesome. That's like philosophical.
Crab cakes? I'll have
Deb,
one.
you're gonna have to steer the ship now because I'm like I'm blown. Wow.
If you had hair, you pull it out.
Yeah. Exactly. All of us in our group, all of us in the Nation's Corner crew, we all sit at a round table, and there are no heads at the table. We all share experiences. We all pitch in. We all are passionate. We all band together, and good shit happens when we all band together. So that's our and Deb, another point I was going to make when you were ranting a while ago. You know, when Dave rants and he's on the show and you see it and he starts pounding on his table and everything starts falling. That's why I was doing that, because you should do that.
I can make a very inappropriate comment right now, but I won't. I will not. I will fight the urge, and never mind.
So Deb, we've got a little bit. We've got about 20 minutes before Wrestledream comes on. So where do you want to start on the card?
So first thing I want to talk about really quick is tonight we have Hangman Adam Page against Jay White. We saw Jay White come back from injury recently, and it definitely seems like he's on his way to the title picture. I know a lot of people, Neil in particular, wasn't really happy with how Jay White was presented when he debuted in AEW. Everybody said like he's Jay freaking White. He deserves to be in the title picture in the main event, just with the other top guys. And I really think that they are working towards that. We have a match tonight with Hangman Adam Page. And I think this is one thing that they're doing a good job so far. It's still just the beginning. He just came back. But he had a promo where he did specifically say that he's going to work his way up to the title. He wants that championship. And the AEW is known for kind of hot-shotting things. Well, if they were actually hot-shotting it, he'd be in the championship match tonight. But he's not.
True.
He's going against Hangman. So so I think that's good. These two are going to have a fantastic match no matter what.
Yeah. Speaking of Hangman, I am so enjoying his new character. I love heel Hangman, and it's not just heel Hangman; he's psycho heel Hangman.
Yes,
he has that crazy look in his eyes. That's what makes the whole thing. That's what the bow on the present is his eyes. They are just crazy, crazy eyes.
And here to tie old school to new school. If we ever wondered what Magnum TA would be like as a heel and a bad guy, we are seeing it now in Adam Hangman Page.
Exactly.
Good point.
Yes, and as they mentioned in the chat, the Outrunners, that's one of the things that was kind of on my list to mention about AEW is how the Outrunners have just week by week, slowly but surely, completely won over the fan base. Completely. Like when they come out, they get a massive pop. And it's one of those things where they kind of came out of nowhere. Like when they first started, everybody's like, who are these? They're cool 80s throwback tag team, whatever. But slowly by surely, they're winning people over.
And you're right, Deb. Especially with the Outrunners, it's a very old and tired and basically almost comical and cheesy gimmick at this point. But as you said, little by little, look at MXM, Mansoor and Marseille.
Yeah,
absolutely horrible in WWE. Like people would literally piss all over it how bad it was. But however, in AEW, now these are two good guys that can really wrestle and perform and do. And instead of scrapping the whole thing, it's working because they leaned into it. They leaned into it hard. and really said, okay, everybody's going to shit on this. Fine. We're just going to do it until you like it. And guess what? People are starting to like it.
And it grew on me for sure. When they first came to AEW, I was like, they're going with the same gimmick. Like, we didn't like it in WWE. Why would we like it in AEW? But yeah, like you said, like little by little, people are coming around to it, because it's not in WWE. It's almost like they were trying to be serious, and now it's like definitely over the top, like a parody. And they had their match earlier on 0 Hour. But yeah, they're kind of doing that turn where it's a parody and it's sarcastic. But then they attacked the Acclaimed, and so now they're showing like, maybe that was just an act, and they are really the bad guys here.
Time will tell.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, we have Mark Briscoe and Chris Jericho.
Let's go, chicken!
I, for one, am absolutely loving this. Jericho spoke about how he's reinventing himself again. He was on Busted Open earlier in the week, talking about how he specifically wanted to work with Mark Briscoe, that he feels Mark Briscoe deserves that that spotlight from a big run like this. John, I wanted to give you a chance to give your thoughts on this, because it's Briscoe.
Well, of course, as you can tell, right there, they're always looking over my shoulder.
Someone needs to.
Well, absolutely, my very best piece of wrestling memorabilia I have. Rest in peace, Jay. And I heard the Jericho interview as well, and the big thing I took away from it was Mark Briscoe, besides just being a fantastic wrestler, everyone knows him as one half of the baddest tag team on the planet, the greatest tag team you never heard of. The 13-time Ring of Honor World Heavy Tag Team Champions, the Briscoe brothers. His whole identity, even in his limited singles runs, even when he feuded with his own brother Jay in Ring of Honor, it never got any traction. Again, and as Jericho said, horrible tragedy. Jay has gone from us, and Mark is soldiering on, but on his own as a single. And absolutely, we all know how entertaining he is. We all know how tough and durable he is in a ring. The man can absolutely wrestle against anybody and pull off a fantastic match.
And he's a brilliant mind. He's a brilliant mind for wrestling.
He's a crazy chicken farmer from Delaware. Why? Because he's a crazy fucking chicken farmer from Delaware. But he has such a mind and a psychology for the business. And he absolutely knows is learning how and adapting to being a singles wrestler. Fantastic. And for Jericho to come out, Jericho at this point, especially in AEW, can literally work with anybody he chooses and absolutely get you interested in it. Whether you like it or hate it, you're still going to talk about it.
Exactly.
And exactly. And we just see his track record of who he has elevated in AEW. For him to come back and say, you know what? I want to get back in the ring with Mark Briscoe. And for the Ring of Honor title, which they don't do nearly enough for Ring of Honor with AEW. And don't get me started on that yet again. You all know my feelings on that. But so to see this as, to me, it's a win-win. It's going to be a very good match between Jericho and Briscoe. That's a given. The fact that Ring of Honor is being shown on an AEW pay-per-view, again, is a win and fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, and it's going to be a strong contender, although public opinion may vary. It could be match of the night because Jericho is going to get up for this. And I know people have been accusing Jericho or blaming him for being lazy in the ring, resting on his laurels, blah, blah, blah. Jericho is going to get up for this match. Why? Because Mark Briscoe is going to make him go up.
Exactly.
So, get the popcorn, grab a Brown Betty, and enjoy, folks, because that's going to be one hell of a match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jericho, though I may not be a big fan of the learning tree gimmick that he's going right now, but usually everything Jericho touches turns to gold.
That's the point.
And and Jericho is top 10 in my opinion. And y'all can whisper all you want while I'm talking. It don't matter to me.
You don't hear us anyway, that motherfucker.
I don't. Yeah. Jericho is top 10 in my opinion too.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And I just always enjoyed Lionheart Chris Jericho in WCW.
Yeah.
When he came over to WWF, when he came out with that ponytail hairdo he had going on,
the pebbles
and the Rock. I'll never forget the Rock. Who in the blue hell are you? I'll never forget that. But,
it doesn't matter.
And and then Jericho's face he was making when the Rock.
And he still does that face.
Yeah.
He still does that face a lot. It's so great.
Yeah. But John, you're right. You're right, man. Yeah, this is going to be a great match tonight. And Jericho has a great mind as well. Even when he's done in the ring, he's going to give so much to the guys in the back, the young up and comers. What he's done for the wrestling business will never be forgotten, and he'll just keep on doing it until he just can't anymore. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this match tonight. So,
yeah, definitely.
What we got next?
All right. So Mariah May and Willow Nightingale, for the championship. Neil would be pissed if we didn't mention Mariah May.
Well, yeah,
I would be pissed too.
So,
just saying.
I really am loving what Willow has been doing the past few months, I'd say. I think she's really come into her own. I know she was known on the indies. She was known for her time in Ring of Honor. But I think, she's another case where she has just kind of slowly in her time in AEW, just slowly kind of built up that equity where the fans are behind her and the fans just absolutely love her. And, what can I say about Mariah May that hasn't already been said before? It's really nothing more to add.
She is the glamour. And while Tony Storm is off doing other black and white things in other parts of the world, Mariah May has is it Tony Storm? No, because there's only one Tony Storm and the timeless character she has.
And we
created.
Shouldn't want it to be the same. Why would we want it to be just like Tony Storm?
Mariah has absolutely filled to a certain extent that role, especially being champion, that we don't quite get with Tony out doing other things. So, and that thing, it's absolutely perfect. I don't know. And this is just a general statement. I really wish that either TK or AEW as a group would just figure out what in the hell they want to do with the women's division.
Yeah.
And it's not like they absolutely have legitimate stars.
They do.
And legitimate, very good in-ring wrestlers, period.
Yeah.
I just wish they would, outside of, timeless Tony Storm, what stories do you have in AEW?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that's missing right now, like we have, we're seeing a lot of matches like with Saraya and Harley. But I think, and there is a little bit of kind of character development that's going on with that. But what they are missing right now is that build to those big matches. I think we we have it with the 2 women's championships. You know, we have the Mariah May story and we have the Mercedes story going on.
Wait, what story?
But we still have Thunder, we still have Deanna, we still have Britt, and you know, it just seems like there is room for kind of other major storylines in the women's division other than just those titles.
Yeah. And I absolutely agree that not everything should be centered around a title. Perfect case in point. They had a nice little feud and rivalry going with Thunder versus Deanna Purrazzo. And then all of a sudden,
yeah. Well, Thunder got a concussion, but she did say on Busted Open yesterday that she is now cleared to come back.
Right. So, but again, that's, you know, those are things that frustrate me because we all know how good Thunder is. We all know how good Deanna is. Why, you know, it's the whole idea is that Mercedes Moné is the face or the center of the division. I'm sorry. So far from what I've seen, it's been a miss for me, not a hit. It's just, it isn't, and it might be, and if they're doing it intentionally just to build her as a character, then by all means, you got me hook, line, sinker.
I think that's it. Her character is that over the top, obnoxious, like, you know, that, oh, I can't stand this woman. Like, you know, she's annoying, she's obnoxious. Even the promos that they showed on Dynamite and Rampage, you know, she's kind of snipping at Renee for how Renee introduces her in the backstage segment, and then she has this over the top like Toledo, like you know, it's just very over the top and obnoxious, and it's so like it begs for you to dislike it.
Yes. The only good thing about a Mercedes Moné promo or anything right now is we get to see Camille. So,
yes, I agree with that. Another thing they're missing the boat on. They've got a sack of money just waiting, you know, to tell a story or to continue a story that they started at all in this past year with Saraya and Jamie Hayter, and they have a story there that could keep on going, but they just don't. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, that is another thing. The way Jamie Hayter was reintroduced was very flat. Like she was just there with no big, like, massive pomp and circumstance around her return.
Right.
And the matches she had, while good matches, again, they're just there.
Well, we've got about 6 minutes left, so do we want to get into the main event real quick, and then we can go ahead and let people get their popcorn and all that ready for the pay-per-view?
Yes. So the main event, of course, is Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. These two have a massive history. And you know, they've been telling this story about that this could possibly be Bryan's last match as a full-time wrestler. And all that. We know it's going to be just a killer match. Like, these two are just top notch. I think these two are probably two of the best wrestlers that have come out of, I'd say, the last 15-ish years, if you want to say, like, if you want to kind of, you know, post Ruthless Aggression era. You know, we saw them both, you know, obviously in WWE for quite a while. But yeah, it's just going to be an amazing match. And I have been enjoying the story they've been telling with this.
Yes. There are 2 stories attached to this whole thing. Is Bryan Danielson, is this going to be his last match? And who's the guy pulling the strings behind Jon Moxley and their faction? And John cut a hell of a promo last Wednesday on Dynamite about that, where they had Bryan Danielson tied up in the ring, and he was just cutting that promo, and he was saying, you know, there's someone's making me do this. It's not me. It's someone. I cannot wait to see who this is. And no, it's not Shane McMahon.
Well, we don't know that.
But I don't think Shane McMahon.
You can't say that for certain.
I'm gonna stand on my.
Okay.
I'm gonna stand on business and say it ain't Shane McMahon. But if it is, I will.
Yeah.
I will do something. But
See, that's the thing is I tend not to, like I said earlier about unrealistic expectations. I tend to try not to set myself up for disappointment. Like there's been a lot of buzz and gossip about Shane McMahon and all that stuff. You know, I try in my head to not be like, you know, okay, if it's not that, I'm going to be super disappointed. Right. Because then that just sets yourself up for a letdown no matter what it is. If it's not that, it could be, if it's not Shane, it could still be something that is really good as part of the story. But if you're putting all your eggs in one basket that it's Shane, and then you're going to be disappointed and let down no matter what. But yeah, I think the promos that Mox has done, and just overall, like, you know, like I said before, if you watch every show, you're seeing little bits and pieces of little details along the way that might not make sense right now, but you know, maybe somewhere down the road, you know, in the coming weeks, things start to kind of fall together and things make sense. I really do think that Wheeler Yuta is going to be a big part of whatever happens.
Yeah,
he seems to kind of be like almost the linchpin in this situation.
Especially after the way Bryan Danielson treated him Wednesday, left him laying in the mat while he was doing the yes chant. That was funny.
We were talking about that on Zoom. I think Margrovian is the one who mentioned it first. He was like, you know, he's got the yes chant going while poor Yuta is just laying there like,
poor kid. That's a former Worldwide Dojo Employee of the Month. He should be treated better.
Hey, Yuta should have got the "What about me" chant going.
Yeah, I'm over here dying. You all chant yes.
Well. Anyway, guys, so it's about to come on. So we'll go ahead and end it here. Hope everyone has a great night watching the pay-per-view. Deb, where can people find you on
Nigel's
socials?
on commentary, so we'll have to pay attention to hear what he,
plenty of Claim Digger jokes
I'm sure
coming.
he'll put some little digs in there, you know.
Yeah.
Plenty of Claim Digger jokes coming.
Yeah. Deb, where can people find you on socials?
At That's So Debonair on the Twitter machine and on Instagram. Y'all know the deal. Click the link.
Yeah. John, how about you, brother?
Not quite the same as Deb's, but as over here somewhere, I think. At Twisted Metal Fab on the Twitter and the Instagram, and of course follow the exploits of the most dangerous weapon in all of professional wrestling. Of course, I am talking about AK9K, the Ass Kicker 9000, and you can follow his exploits at Ass Kicker 9K on Instagram.
Nice. And I am Tony Justice, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Tony Justice, AJFA. And if you're a Metallica fan, like I know all of us are, you know what that means.
Yeah.
Ooh! Have a great show. Have a great time tonight. Watch the pay-per-view. We'll catch you all on the flip.